guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. I got movie night in just a couple of hours over on Locals, and if you're a supporter over there, we're watching a couple of movies tonight. So I've got to get through this quickly, but I definitely wanted to do this video today because this is new information that just dropped within the last 12 hours or so. And when you normally see somebody that's accused of the also me movement, many times you say to yourself, okay, you know, I understand it's a touchy subject. We want to be supportive of everybody and everything that's happened. And then when we find what the truth is, we'll come back around and visit it. They know, the media knows this is the third rail. It is a hot topic and it is touchy. Well, what happens? Did the media just use AI to frame Russell Brand? I heard this story. I had it all squared up. I was ready to talk about it. And then I see this clip. It's an audio clip of one of the people that are accusing him of doing what they did to him. And I said, you know, I've been messing around with AI long enough to know this doesn't sound right. This sounds fishy. We're going to jump right into it. I'm not going to preamble too much. So this morning, you know, Russell Brand, he's gone from like maybe 1 million followers that were a couple hundred followers that were a fan of his comedy to 6.6 million subscribers because he's been spitting some truth about a lot of things. I'm not going to mention them all. There's tons of them. And he's become very controversial. And all of a sudden, you know, he used to be the left darling. He used to be the left's darling. He was all about climate and he was about green energy and he was very tree huggery and crunchy. But he got disillusioned to the establishment. And he started saying, you know what, I'm going to call out the left. I'm going to call out the right. I'm calling out everybody. And he's become very, very, contentious to the powers that be. So this is the video he came out with this morning. I'm going to play through it.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And
I'm just going to pause it here for a second. We now know today, and I'm not going to go down this rabbit trail, but this is why we say, with the way women are today and the way that anything they do, if they regret it, it becomes revenge. They can always come back around and say you did something inappropriate or something you didn't do. And this is why a lot of guys are ignoring and avoiding women just for this reason, because they're afraid of what's going to happen 20 years down the road.
And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of. And we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm
just breaking this up for a second because I have to, because of YouTube algorithms. I'm actually going to talk about that Joe Rogan thing for like 15 seconds, just to, if you're not aware of it.
Aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out, Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth. Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me, like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous, consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narratives that these two mainstream media outlets are trying to construct construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free.
You know, I really like Russell. I disagree with him on a lot of his policies, actually, but I like the fact that he's calling out news media. He's calling out the, the governments. He's calling out pharma, all these other things, right? So this is the first thing I see this morning, and I'm like, man, what's going on? Okay, so let me put a pin in this for just 1 second, and then we'll get right to it. When it comes to these allegations and things like this, they wrote a big piece about it, and it's being shared all over Twitter, but a lot of the people that are sharing it are like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like him. Some things aren't adding up. And when it comes to when it comes to this generational war, 4th gen, 5th gen generational warfare, remember, we're not firing rounds of lead at each other. We're firing accusations. We're firing bad press. We're firing maybe you did something bad. And that's what's the weaponization of this is very popular right now. But interestingly enough, if it happens only in one direction, does the media decide to take it seriously? If it's in the other direction, they ignore it. And we're going to get through this real quick, but I want to kind of give you my thought train here as we go. Remember when Tara Reade said Joe Biden did bad things to her? And it was 18, 20 years ago. What happened about it? Nothing. Couple of interviews, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And as soon as Joe Biden was no longer the nomination for the Democrat Party, but he was going to be the Democratic person running for president, all these stories stopped. All these stories went away. They amplify on one side, and the media brings it down quiet on the other side. Because this happened, I don't know how many years ago, supposedly this happened, 1993. Is what they say in this story, okay? Yeah, that's a long time ago. That's 30 years. But it was, don't talk about this stuff because the news media, we prop up the Democrats. We don't talk about this stuff. Joe Rogan, if you guys remember, the picture on the right here is the picture that CNN ran when Joe said he got the bug and he hadn't had the jab and he was taking, various medicines that rhyme with Jiver, Rectin, because you know how YouTube is. When he took that medicine and they said he took horse paste and all this other stuff, and they doctored the video to make him look sicker than he was, right? And then they ran a whole campaign about him saying the N-word, and then they ran a campaign about et cetera, trying to get him off Spotify and get him shut down. And Spotify did the right thing and said, no, we'll put a little warning label underneath about some of his videos, but we're not taking them down. But here's proof positive that CNN doctored material to push a narrative. Here's CNN right here. This is from the Washington Examiner. CNN lied about Joe Rogan and the medicines. It regrets nothing. It never retracted. It never said it's sorry. It just did its thing. And then this happened just a week or two ago. Or maybe a week ago, September 13th, they say, but a few days ago maybe. Prosecutor in Danny Masterson trial, the Struggle Snuggle trial, says the actor thought he was going to get away with it. What was the proof in this case? What was the proof that they gave this guy 20 years behind bars? Testimony. That's it. No proof, no nothing. Testimony. Women said, right? Believe all women. Women said. And here it is 20 years later, or whatever it is later, and he's going to get probably 20 years. And the people that supported him, Ashton Kutcher and his girlfriend there, I forget her name, Mila Kunis or whatever it is. When the trial went forward, the judge asked Ashton Kutcher, or maybe it was the defense, asked Ashton Kutcher and Mila to just write character letters of what was he like when you worked with him. And so both of them did. And because of the fact that they wrote a letter that showed any support of this guy at all, well, now Ashton Kutcher's had to resign from his nonprofit that was actually helping minors that were that were having bad things to him, he's been forced to step down because they didn't support the establishment line, and so they attacked him and drove him out of his own nonprofit. And now here's the story that they come forward with. Russell Brand, accused of the snuggle struggle, having his way with a woman against her will. And they say 4 women, including one who was just 16, makes allegations after an investigation by the Sunday Times, the Times, and Channel 4 dispatches. Now, there's one sentence in this story that when you hear it, you're going to go, wait a minute, something's wrong with this. They say the comedian actor Russell Brand's been accused of all the bad things during a 7-year period at the height of his fame. 4 women have said he's done these things between 2006 and 2013 when he was a presenter for BBC 2 Radio and Channel 4 and then an actor in Hollywood films. Others have made a range of accusations about his controlling, harmful behavior. Brand denied the allegations and said his relationships have all been consensual. The findings come from a joint investigation by the Sunday Times and the Times and Channel 4 dispatches. One woman alleges Brand did bad things to her in Los Angeles home. She went to a center, was tested, and they say according to medical records. Are there any police records? No, it was never brought to the police. Text messages show that in the hours after leaving his house, she told Brand that she had been scared of him and felt taken advantage of. When girls say no, it means no. So you're going to tell me that she saved text messages from around a decade ago? Now, I don't know about you, but if I think back to a decade ago, those were flip phones, most of them. Maybe the first Apple iPhone was out by then. You're going to tell me she saved these texts? Where are they? Print them. I want proof. No more of this he said, she said. Print them. Let's see it. Let's see the medical records. Scrub out her name. Let's see it. A second woman alleges that Brand took advantage of her when he was 31, she was 16, and still in school. She said a bunch of other things. A third woman claims he did the same thing. Fourth woman described same thing, right? They all said, okay, here we go, guys. Listen to the sentence and then turn on your WTF machines. They all said they felt ready to speak only after being approached by reporters. They all said they felt ready to speak only if they had been approached by reporters. So how are 4 women that have never come forward with these accusations, how are they now willing to come forward because they've been approached by reporters? How did those reporters know to approach those women? That doesn't make any sense. That makes 0 sense. Several said they felt compelled to do so given Brand's newfound prominence as an online wellness influencer with millions of followers on YouTube and other sites. So now all of a sudden they feel, well, he's doing YouTube and he promotes wellness, so I need to come out and speak against him. But they didn't need to speak against him when he was on BBC TV and when he was in movies and when he was doing stand-up traveling all over the world. Only now that he happens to be speaking against the narrative and the mainstream machine? What a coincidence. Others have accused him of bad things. Most of the women who do not know each other have chosen to remain anonymous. That right there means end of story. We're done here. We're done here. I'm sorry. We're done. We're done. No more. I am a very kind, caring man. I do care when women have bad things happen to them and they say, you know something, I want this brought up to the light of day. But now when you won't show your face, you won't share your name, you tell some rando story, it's from a long time ago, you have no police records, there's no proof of anything, we're done. We're just done. We're done with this. And if you want me to feel bad with you or about your situation, you better come forward with who you are. Because otherwise, I'm not just going to feel bad in general for some vapor ghost. And the reason why they do these kind of stories is, yes, women do have bad things done to them. And yes, the men that do that should be brought to justice. But it's such a third rail. it's such a tender topic that they know that anybody that comes out and pushes back against the narrative they want to write will be called an uncaring man. Oh, you don't care about women. You don't care about women that have this done to them. You're evil. And so what it does is it makes people say, look, I mean, I care, but this is touchy. I don't really want to talk about this. And that's exactly what they want. They want the ability to slam anybody they want to, because you know what's going to happen next. YouTube is going to come in and say, you're off. We don't know if you did anything, but you're the wrong kind of person we want for this, for our media. You're gone from YouTube. Now, probably Rumble will still support him, but if he has a podcast on Apple or whatever, they'll say, no, you're gone. What about the comedy places that he goes and does his comedy? No, you're third rail, you're gone. It's too touchy a subject. And just like that, without a name, without a face, without a police report, without a record, without anything, they've just destroyed a man's life. And I'm frankly done with this shit. I'm f***ing done with it. I feel so bad for women that have this happen to them, but when they do this shit, it makes all women in doubt now. They're doing the opposite. They're starting to make people like myself and everybody else out there, when they first hear an accusation, they say, oh, Jesus, man, this is awful. And then time after time after time, it's proven false, or there's no corroborating evidence, but the man is destroyed in the meantime. I'm sorry, that's too much power. And so now my default is, I don't believe you. Prove it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a horrible person now. I don't believe you. Prove it. And if you don't prove it, it didn't happen. That's where we are now. And maybe that makes me an asshole. And maybe that makes me evil, woman-hating, misogynist. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm done with this shit. I'm tired of horrible things being held as weapons against men when there's no proof anything's fucking happening. We're not doing this anymore. And I'm pissed and I'm fired up. And what really set me off over this shit is this voice recording, because my warning bells went off at 5,000% when I heard this. And I said, they're using technology and AI to fucking ruin this man. I've done videos on AI, and I said it won't be long until they use this to ruin a politician or ruin somebody or paint a narrative. I'm gonna mute myself just so there's no background noise on my microphone or echoes in this building. I want you to listen to something. I've been a YouTuber now for 4 years, and I can't tell you how hard it is to get a dead silent room. This little black blanket that's hanging behind me, I hung over the window to block it, but I have 6 or 8 blankets I've hung off walls. I've put the padded things all over everything. And if you have a real clean electrical signal with thick cables and sound deadening, you might get no noise, zero. Even you have to fuck with your gate ratings and all this other stuff. You might get 0 noise when it's silent. But I want you to hear this voice recording. It is perfect. It is audiobook recording. Secondly, listen to the lack of 0 emotion. AI can get the sound, the vocal pattern of people right. AI can get the cadence of people right. AI can't get the emotion in words right. I'm going to play this minute, 30-second clip in full, and you tell me that this isn't AI.
He pushed me up against the wall. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I have a friend here and I want you to come into the bedroom. I'm like, no, that's not happening. We're not doing that. And I tried to get away from him. I slipped away from the wall. I went to another wall that had a painting on it, a huge painting. My bag got actually stuck underneath that, and it's still on my arm. And at this point, he's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off. And he has that glazed look in his eye again. I was very distraught, trying to get out of the house with him being so much taller than me, like holding me up against the wall, pushing himself in me. I couldn't move. He finally comes and gets off of me, and I push him away. He blocks the door. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. Get away from me." And he's like, "Well, let's calm down." I ran out and I jumped in my car. I was in a daze.
Tell me that's not fucked up. Tell me that's not fucked up. That's either a woman sitting in a... Because here's the thing. If you listen to YouTubers or you watch TV a lot, you know what you hear? When people breathe in and when they breathe out. And another thing. You hear in and out. Even when I listen to audiobooks, I mean, if it's top-notch audiobook, you might hear nothing because they have the sound dampeners and they have a perfect studio. But if it's not perfect, you hear people. You hear something. Something's wrong with this. Comments on this. I'm just going to read down through the comments. Let's see what everybody thinks. This is an AI recording, AI generated. Zero chance this is an AI. Not going to lie, this audio is suspect AF. Is this AI? Who is this friend in the other room? Did the person witness anything or any statements? Does this person even exist? Sounds like an AI. Not detailed enough to be believed. Sounds like a fake report. Fake. Which ebook is this? I don't know what you mean. It does not sound scripted and read by an actress at all. That may be sarcasm. I don't know. If you accuse someone by name, then you yourself need to give your name. As far as we know, this is a fake story with an AI-generated voice. Someone else says, this is software and website. You can input the audio and tell if you have been AI-generated. If no one attempts to debunk this audio with software, all the comments in this thread are simply speculation. Someone else says the recording in general is speculation. Now, I'm pretty sure with all the software that's out there that someone can plug in kind of what she said and use different generators. And there's a lot of sleuths out there, and he has a lot of fans. The days of me believing automatically are over. They have been for a while. The days of me believing anything without proof are also over. And if that makes me a callous, hateful, awful man, because I don't want to believe a story that cannot be corroborated with no evidence and no supporting information from an unknown person, a faceless, unknown, nameless person from 2 decades ago or a decade ago, then you call me the worst names in the world. I'm seeing too many lives ruined by this stuff of everyday guys. And then when there's a coordinated effort to all of a sudden come forward after Russell Brand is a YouTuber, not when he was on BBC, not when he was in the movies, not when he was a nationally known comedian and maybe doing stuff on Netflix, then it wasn't important. But now that he's a wellness coach on YouTube, you feel like now's the important time to come forward? And these women happen to only decide to come forward after they were contacted by mainstream media, even though the mainstream media should not know any of these women even exist if they hadn't told anyone their stories? This is sus AF, as the young people like to say. And when I was going to do this video, I went for a drive. I had to run a couple of errands. Ironically, I had to go buy a lighter because I now have a fireplace to keep myself warm for the wintertime. And I went, hey, you know what? I'll light this up tonight and maybe test it out. And I don't have anything. I tried the battery on the steel wool. Unfortunately, I think they've changed steel wool, or at least the one I bought, because that didn't want to do crap. Sparked a little bit, but not enough. So I went down and got my lighter. I got a bite to eat and something to drink. And as I drove, I just got madder and madder and madder because I knew this was going to happen. And I've done videos on this stuff talking about it's going to happen. But I never thought, I thought they might make it sound like, I don't know, President Trump said, something questionable or something kind of sketch that made people go, I don't know about that. When you're coming out trying to ruin a man's life, career, his social media, everything about him, with nameless, faceless people with audio that sounds like AI. And they do have another audio recording here, and I'm not going to play it. Well, I'll play a second of it because it does sound natural. I want you to hear what I think sounds like a natural voice.
And he forced his penis down my throat, and I couldn't breathe. It was just choking me, and I couldn't breathe. I was pushing him away, and he wasn't backing off at all.
Do you see how there's different inflection in that? I do believe this voice of quote-unquote Alice is a real person. There's a problem, though. And you can hear a little reverb and echo in the sound quality. There's a problem, though. Who is Alice? Not a real name, no face. Yeah, it's a real voice. I could go to one of my female friends, not that I have any, but you understand what I'm saying. I could go to one of my female friends and say, hey, I want you to kind of read through this. We're going to read through it a couple times. And then I want you to tell the story like it actually happened to you. Right? I mean, I'm not an actor. And if I was like, she punched me in the face. And I was totally surprised. Like, why would somebody do that to me? I didn't expect anything. I hadn't said anything wrong to her. But she decided to swing a pan and hit me in the face. And next thing I know, I'm on the ground, blood running out my nose. I can't barely see out of my eyes, because they're all teared up because of the blood and everything. I mean, and I didn't have any way to escape. I tried to reach for the door. I don't know if she got stood in front of me or if I somehow got spun around or a little confused when she smashed me in the face. Look, storytelling's easy. I made that up off the top of my head. Now give me a script in 15 minutes to practice it, and you have Alice. The problem with all this stuff is everybody does want to believe women when bad things have happened to them. We do. We want those women to be protected. We want men that do bad things to them going to jail. This is how you have a good society. But when you start manipulating things, when there's more and more stories of it being regret that turns into an accusation, more men being let out from 20 and 30 and 40 years in jail for something they didn't do because the woman says, oopsie, and what happens to her? Nothing. There's no punishment to make an accusation. Maybe both these voices are real. Maybe it even happened to these women. But the days of waiting a decade or 2 decades and then conveniently coming out when all of a sudden it's a popular person, that's crap. And for this Tara Reid that came out, and claimed that Joe Biden did something to her, I feel the same way. It's not politics. If she comes out 20 years later and decides to tell this story while he's running for, president or whatever, why didn't she say it when he was in Congress? Why didn't she say it when he was an educator? Why did she wait until suddenly it's time for him to get the nomination to become president of the United States? No proof, no evidence, a couple of friends, he said, she said. No more. No more. And if they will ignore this story, about Biden, then I can sure as hell ignore this story about Russell Brand. And this crap hurts actual women that have been harmed. But now they use it as a weapon. And if this is going to be weaponized, and if this is going to be used to destroy men, then my default from here on out is, I don't believe you. I don't believe you if you have no proof. Innocent until proven guilty. And if you have no proof, you can't prove them guilty, I am going to side with the men until you can prove me wrong. And if I'm a bad guy, I'm a bad guy. For those of you on YouTube, I've got to edit this, so you may be seeing it 6 hours later than everybody else on Locals. If you want to see the full rant, I mean, the full rant's there, but if you want to hear all the spicy words, go over on Locals. We've got movie night tonight, which is starting in about half an hour, so I probably won't have enough time to edit this for YouTube. So you'll probably be seeing it the next day. But we'll leave it there, and we'll see you in the next one.